Well, hello, whenever you're watching this, here we are again, the dynamic duo, the the vlog that you look forward to all week. And here we are. And hey, what's happening this week, Ruth?
Hi, this week we've got Akin with us. Welcome, Akin. Really lovely to have you.
Hello.
And
Hello, Ru and Stu.
I just wanted to ask you how you come to KBC, to Kidlington Baptist Church.
Right. We've lived in Kidlington I moved to Kidlington in 2001, but we used to go to church in Cumnor then, and we carried on going to church in Cumnor. In 2012, I think Anita found the Sunday school, found that quite good, and we started bringing Toph along, and here we are.
Here you are all this time.
This is very interesting, Akin, because I live in Cumnor and I go to church in Kidlington, and you were in Kidlington coming to church in Cumnor.
I know, that's right, yeah. We used to live in Botley when we first moved when the family first moved to Oxfordshire. We lived in Botley, and so we went to church in Cumnor. And when we moved to Kidlington, we of course started. Kids went to school around here, etc.
Yeah. And how did you come to faith, Akin?
Right. I'll go back a bit. My grandfather was the first Christian convert in our entire family. The Baptist missionaries came to southwest Nigeria and they set up a church in the 1850s, 1858, I think, and it was converted in the late 19th century. And of course, his family, his immediate family were against it, etc. But he stood strong with his faith, and his children became Christians. But my dad, around about the time Nigeria became independent, it was at university then in Nigeria, and in perhaps nationalistic fervor, a lot of the people, a lot of his peers, they equated, they didn't want to have anything to do with anything that was foreign, and they equated Christianity with imperialism, and he kind of walked away from his faith. Therefore, I didn't go to church much when I was growing up, although my mom dragged us along to church. But and I guess after a while, the habit of going to church stuck, and I just carried on going to church. Even when I was at university, I just made a point of going to church. But it was then I met Anita, a Christian girl. We got married, and December 1993, for a whole range of reasons, I just sat down one day and I felt that I really had to live what I profess. If I say I'm a Christian, then I ought to be living that way. And that probably was when I made a firm and a commitment to walk with God. It was December 1993. I remember that because in 1994, our second daughter was born. So yeah, I always had Christianity around me, church. I went to a Baptist missionary school. I mean, on all the walls, there were scriptures everywhere. The library had study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that needs not be ashamed, always rightly dividing the word of truth. So there was always scriptures all around me. I had to go to chapel, assembly first thing in the morning, every morning, chapel on Sundays. So there was that Christian thing always around me, but a personal commitment, I'll say December 93.
And Akin, you work really, really hard. Could you tell us a bit about your job?
Well, I suppose I ended up becoming a pharmacist because I've always loved chemistry. I loved chemistry from when I was in secondary school, and I was either going to train as an engineer or a pharmacist, and I didn't like physics that much, so I became a pharmacist. And so that's what I did. That's why I trained at AS in Nigeria. When I qualified as a pharmacist in Nigeria, I joined Glaxo, a British company, GlaxoSmithKline it now is, and then moved on to various other things. And there was a shortage of pharmacists in the UK. There was a severe shortage in 1999, 2000, and that shortage was like everywhere, most parts of the world, pharmacy is a master's degree. In the UK, it wasn't a master's degree, and the UK was changing at that time. So they were recruiting from all over the English-speaking Commonwealth, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, etc. So I thought, oh yeah, it'll be useful to do some international experience for a year. So in 2000, I was going to work in the UK for a year, but 21 years on, we've more or less become settled here. So I work locally in Kidlington as a pharmacist. I've worked, I worked in London, worked in Aylesbury, in various places as pharmacist all over the country, really.
Oh, and you're great at it, and we're so lucky to have you.
Thank you. Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Has lockdown been as hectic and manic for you as it appears for everyone in health?
At the very beginning, it was, I'd never seen anything like it. In the same way as people were panic buying toilet roll and things like that, people were panicking over their prescription medication. So we did, at the very beginning, we did something like a month's work in 3-4 days. It was just incredibly difficult at that time. The pressure was just intense. It was never ending. So yeah, work-wise, it was difficult to start with. Well, I had to go out to, unlike most other people, I can't work from home. I have to go out to work. So in that sense, not much changed. I suppose the only other thing that changed is all the way through the lockdown, all the way through the pandemic. The other difficulty has been having members of the team self-isolating, not so much because of themselves, but because of a family member or they've come into contact with someone. So we are almost, even as recently as last week, we are always struggling with one person not turning up, or one person having this issue or the other. People had their jabs, and they had, some people had, one person actually had an unpleasant reaction to it, but most of us have been fine since our COVID jabs, etc. Yeah, so those have been the difficulties, but nothing intolerable, nothing that we couldn't manage.
So when we talk about lockdown, how's it been for you? It hasn't really been any different for you, has it? Just busier than ever. Yeah,
busier than ever. A lot more difficult. a lot more work. A lot more difficult. A lot more having to stand in when at short notice, when someone can't get to work or can't come into work. It's those sort of things.
Yeah.
In the last year or two, we've heard an awful lot about Black Lives Matter, racial tensions, and probably people like me have been quite shocked to discover how racist our country is, perhaps. I mean, what's your experience been like?
To be very honest with you, my personal experience has been very, it took me a while to recognize certain things as being racially motivated. I just didn't get it because all of my professional life I'd lived in Nigeria, and therefore, I mean, yeah, so people have sworn at me at work, but that's par for the course. They will swear at you regardless of your race. They will use racist slurs. That's happened before. But it's never really personally been a thing that bothered me personally, because a lot of my formative years were in Nigeria. Therefore, I developed the personal confidence to not to take things personally. But it's more with my children who have grown up here. They're a bit more discerning, you know. And I suppose I've also been very privileged that because I work in a professional job, and I've always been, right from the beginning, I've been a leader or manager of the team. So very rarely, very occasionally will I get those sort of experiences. But I don't think that I've personally suffered any significant setback. But that's not to say that others haven't. It's probably because I just didn't notice. I just ignored it or just let it ride. But I'm a lot more sensitive now to what other people might be going through, and therefore, for those that I mentor, I'm more sensitive. I'm training myself to recognize those things, to call them out, to not just laugh at them. A lot of things that were acceptable. I mean, the books I used to read in the library growing up in Nigeria, I used to read Enid Blyton books, and I would laugh at them. You know, I love Enid Blyton books, absolutely love them. I remember reading in Dennis the Menace, the comics, where Dennis had done something wrong, and she was going to be seen by a black doctor. And I thought, okay, I always get seen by a black doctor all the time. You know, it didn't make sense to me that was punishment for, you know, so those issues are there. Those things were acceptable in society. They no longer are. And it's a good thing too that they no longer are acceptable.
Thank you. Very helpful. Now, just while I'm talking to you, Akin, there's just something that I need to sort out with you, because until fairly recently, I would have been recognized as the person in KBC with the worst jokes. And now you come along and you've taken my mantle.
Yeah, I apologize.
Where do you get all these awful jokes?
I apologize for that. You know, but the dubious honor now belongs to me. I don't know. I think it's just my take on life. Sometimes I just have this rather wry or even sardonic way of looking at things. So I apologize. You can have the honor back, Stuart. It's all yours.
Well, I need to find jokes as bad as yours, though.
Oh, it won't take much, don't worry.
And I know you work really hard, but when you're not working, what sort of things do you like to do? What are your passions?
I love to read. I've always loved to read. I was always surrounded by books when I was growing up. My dad had plenty of books, and so I would, we had very long summers. Summer holidays, so I'll read all of my novels, you know, spend my pocket money on novels, and then ended up reading his books on philosophy. I mean, as a young person, I didn't know what I was thinking. I was reading Plato, Socrates. I never really understood them, but you know, I was that desperate to read stuff that I'll read anything. So I love to read. I enjoy reading. I enjoy watching movies. Lately, I've started learning Spanish. I found an app to learn Spanish. I don't think I'm any good at it yet, but you know, I'm learning Spanish. I spend about 15-20 minutes a day on the app, just making sure I'm learning a few words here and there. So it keeps me fairly busy.
Yeah, and we normally ask people with their lockdown, who would they choose to share it with? Two people, but obviously you've been working. But if you were in lockdown, who would you choose? Yeah,
I did think about this. One of my favorite authors is Max Lucado. Is an American preacher. I absolutely love his books ever since I I accidentally chanced upon one in Lagos, actually, in Lagos, Nigeria. Must be about 20, 25 years ago now. I mean, I like his way with words, you know, things like, you're the only you God made. God made you and broke the mold. I just like his way with words. So, you know, God loves each one of us like there is only one of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to take him if he'll have me. And I suppose the other person I like to spend lockdown with will be Simon Peter. Simon Peter in the Bible, a reed, yet a rock. Is the most mentioned disciple in the Gospels, and is flawed, but always faithfully trying. And I see a lot of that in myself, in my walk with the Lord, you know, flawed, deep flawed in so many ways, but, you know, trying to be faithful. So he is someone I like to chat to.
Yeah.
I think those are two great choices, but I mean, perhaps you just missed a trick, because you could have had a comedian who could have given you some better jokes.
True that. That's true. Yeah, I could have.
What? I don't know. I'm. Have you got something? Go for it, Ruth. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to ask you about your Bible, about what was your favorite Bible verse.
Oh yeah. I think the one Bible verse I learned very early. I don't even think I was a Christian by name. I was nominally a Christian, but not always in behavior when I was much younger. And the Bible verse the first one I learned by heart is Romans 12:21. It says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." That's just stayed with me. It stayed with me, and I try to live by that. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. Yes.
That's a lovely verse. Yeah, thank you.
We know Toff, but just tell me about the rest of your other children.
Right. We have 3 daughters. Eldest is 29. She lives in London with her husband. Our second daughter's coming up to 27. She's 27 next week. She also works and lives in London. She's a junior doctor. She qualified just at the beginning of COVID, so she's been in the COVID ward, etc. All that time. Our youngest daughter is she's 23. She works in oil and gas. She read economics, and she lives in Manchester now. Cause her friends after uni, her friends moved back to Manchester, and she moved with them. But she's very likely to come back home. Come back south, because she actually works. Our office is actually in Reading, you know. So she works in Manchester. And Toph's our youngest. He was born 17 years ago now.
Goodness, he's 17. And do you share his passion for shoes, Akin?
He's been trying to get me to fall in love with shoes the same way. I think those genes must come from his mom. Yeah, all his better genes are from his mom. So, yeah, I'm not completely indifferent to shoes, but yeah, he absolutely loves shoes.
He does. He's got passion.
I always enjoy it when you preach. I mean, apart from the jokes, because I just think you have a very interesting take on life and Bible passages. Do you enjoy preaching?
I always find it quite difficult, actually. I find, first of all, am I living what I'm sharing, what I'm preaching? That's always a challenge. Second, I'm never really sure, and perhaps because I'm not sure, it makes me rely more on God. It kind of, I mean, that's what I've come to believe, that it's okay to be unsure. It's okay to have butterflies in your stomach. God will make those butterflies fly in formation, you know. So
hey, that one is worthy of Max Lucado, that phrase.
Yeah, so yeah, I tend to approach it with, I'm not always settled in my mind. I do have to take time to pray over things and think about them, and be clear on where God wants me to take things. Yeah, it's one of the things, like in everything else, I really, I'm learning day by day to rely more and more on God. And that's a difference that our faith, I think, makes. That no matter what the challenge or the adversity is, that we can rely on Him.
That's a powerful concept. I mean, just explain more. How do we rely on God more?
Well, I mean, the way I find personally to rely on God is, perhaps I'll give you an example. Lately at work, because we're open, and everybody that comes to the health center building, it's us that see first. So we're sort of expected to answer questions for the dentist, for the podiatrist, for the GP surgery, if they have an appointment with the podiatrist, and it's just impossible. I just can't answer those questions. And lately I found out that by about 11 in the morning, I'm getting worked up, I'm getting eaten up inside because of incessant questions I really can't answer, and people kind of feeling that I don't want to help. You know, I'm in the building, I should know. It took me a few days to work out that this is what's eating me up, that's making me on edge. And so lately what I've taken to do is just to say, Lord, just help me through this, to not be annoyed with people or snap at them, or just to get frustrated. And because, you know, they have difficulties anyway, they're unwell, they're waiting for an appointment, and they may be unkind or barely civil sometimes. But, you know, I have the responsibility not to respond. Well, I'm responsible for my responses, so relying on God to help me with that. And yeah, it's in the little things and the big things of life, whether it's worries over my children, and or worries over my health, or a loved one's health, and so on. So
yeah, very, very helpful, very thoughtful.
Thank you.
I think, Ruth, it's getting towards
time.
the famous question.
Right, Akin, Cromwell has a question for you.
Hello, Cromwell.
Say hi. He says, do you prefer cats or dogs?
Dogs, of course.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, when I was growing up, we had dogs. I mean, we don't have a pet now, but growing up in Nigeria, we always had dogs. And you know, I find them a bit more friendly and less aloof, less disdainful than cats.
Oh,
so, you know, apologies to all the cat lovers. I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that Cromwell is trying to tell you that he is a pet and she's called Ruth. Thank you so much for your time, Akin. That was really interesting, very thoughtful. And I suppose we'd better just again pretend that somebody out there is listening to us and say thanks for watching and listening. And we'll try to be back next week with a brand new show.